At the party celebrating my husband's company going public, he stood on stage with his assistant and announced their engagement. I was the woman who had been his wife for 7 years, standing silently in the crowd, watching as Mark and Chloe raised their glasses in a toast. Mark's voice was full of confidence. This company wouldn't be where it is today without the unwavering support of someone very special to me, he said. She is also the mother of my child, Chloe Davis. Thank you all for your trust. From here on, I promise to lead the company to even greater heights. The room erupted in cheers. Everyone was congratulating them on the triple success, the business, a new executive position for Chloe, and the announcement of a baby. I just stood there, my heart feeling as heavy as a stone. After 7 years of being a loyal and loving wife, I finally understood that it was time to let go. Mark continued his speech, a wide smile on his face. Today marks not just the success of our company, but a new chapter in my personal life as well. Many of you know that I owe everything I have achieved to one person's care and dedication. He paused, and a murmur went through the room as people tried to guess who he meant. My own heart skipped a beat. He had told me earlier that he would thank someone important at the banquet, and I had even bought a bouquet of roses, foolishly thinking that person might be me. I straightened my back and managed a small smile, preparing myself. She is my assistant, Chloe, Mark announced. My smile froze. The bouquet in my hand trembled. All around me, people were clapping and cheering. Chloe walked up to the stage and took Mark's hand. She glanced in my direction for a moment, then gave a little shrug as if she were being modest. We kept our relationship quiet because we wanted to keep our work and personal lives separate, she said. But now that our CEO has made it official, I'm happy to share it too. Mark turned back to the crowd, beaming. And one more piece of good news, he said. Chloe will officially be joining the executive team as our new director. Guests immediately swarmed them, offering their congratulations. I stood in the back, completely dazed. Someone bumped into me, and I almost fell. Why are you still standing here? A colleague asked, nudging me. Go on, offer your congratulations. Mr. Thompson is handing out red envelopes. If you're late, you'll miss out. I forced my legs to move, making my way through the crowd. My eyes were burning, but I stared directly at Mark. My voice was steady, though it took everything I had to speak. Is it true? Is the child Chloe is carrying really yours, Mr. Thompson? And when did this happen? The room went quiet. Conversation stopped. A few people exchanged uncomfortable looks. Mark held out a red envelope to me, his smile still in place, but his eyes were cold. This last red envelope was specially saved for Manager Miller? I took the envelope, a tiny spark of hope flickering inside me. But then he lifted Chloe's hand and laced his fingers with hers. My eyes fell to his hand, to the simple silver ring on his finger. It wasn't the wedding ring I had put on his finger years ago. He never liked wearing it. Now, a plain silver band, an engagement ring from Chloe, rested there. With a small laugh, he looked at the crowd again. If the baby she's carrying isn't mine, then whose would it be? He and Chloe raised their glasses together again, toasting the room without giving me a second glance. I clenched the red envelope so tightly it bent in my hand. Tears burned behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. When I left the bright banquet hall, I threw the roses into a trash can without thinking twice. Then, I made a phone call. Mr. Carter, I said, I've decided. I'll accept your offer and join your company. He sounded pleased. If you come, I'll give you the best package we have to offer. It's settled then. I've been waiting for this, and I always knew you'd make the right choice. After I hung up, I stood in the freezing cold for a long time. Someone offered me a cigarette. I tried to light it, but my hands were shaking too much. The wind was sharp, but it was nothing compared to the cold that had settled deep inside my heart. Mark and I had been together for 7 years, and married for 4. All that time, he kept our relationship a secret from everyone. He always said it was for his career, that once he was successful, he would tell the world about us. When people guessed we were close, he would deny it immediately. To make him feel better, I threw myself into my work. I did everything at the company, worked long hours, and stayed out of the spotlight, just like he asked. But today, the company went public, and instead of acknowledging me, he announced his engagement to Chloe. He even said her child was his. Chloe had only been at the company for less than a year, but Mark had favored her from the beginning. I couldn't help but wonder, what was I to him? Just a servant he could use and then throw away? That night, when Mark finally came home, he stopped as soon as he walked in the door. He sniffed the air and frowned. I thought you quit smoking. Now you're starting again? I really overestimated you, he snapped. Do you ever listen to anything I say? I sat in silence for a moment before letting out a cold laugh. Don't worry, I said, my voice flat. I smoked outside. Let's talk about the real issue, shall we? The child. Mark's expression changed for a second, and his voice softened. The company's IPO needed a lot of publicity. Announcing an engagement, especially with a pregnancy, gets attention. It attracts investors. It was a strategy. As for the child, of course it's not mine, but by the time you asked me about it, the engagement with Chloe had already been announced. I couldn't very well say your name on stage, could I? I didn't say anything. He came over to the sofa and leaned against my shoulder, trying to be affectionate. In the past, when I still loved him, this softer side of him always worked. I would feel guilty for ever doubting him. He reached out and took my hand. I almost gave in, but as I looked down, I smelled a familiar woody, musky scent. It was the same perfume I had noticed on Chloe before. I stiffened and pushed him away. The softness disappeared from Mark's face. His expression turned cold, and his voice rose. Sarah Miller, is this how you act when I'm trying to make peace with you? I did this for you. If you weren't always so unpresentable, do you think I would need Chloe at public events? She studied abroad. She has poise. She knows how to act in front of cameras. I looked him straight in the eye. Tell me honestly, Mark, is it really that I'm not good enough? Or is it that you never wanted me to be seen? Chloe gets the spotlight, but I'm your legal wife. Why was I never allowed on stage? His face twitched. In terms of education, I graduated from a top university just as good as whatever second-rate school Chloe went to overseas. As for my skills, when the company was struggling, I handled both research and business. I led product development, negotiated deals, and charmed clients. People in the office used to whisper that Mark was just a figurehead. He hated that. He said I was stealing his thunder, that he wanted to be the kind of CEO people looked up to, and I should be the woman behind the man. Back then, I believed him. I agreed to step back and let him have all the credit and applause. But now, the man I thought I would spend my life with had given my years of hard work and my rightful place to someone else. Mark reached into his briefcase and pulled out a necklace. Let's just forget about today. I'll clear things up soon. This is for you. I picked it out myself. See if you like it. He always did this when he felt guilty. He'd give me a gift, something shiny, and I, like a fool, would always be touched. I'd smile, accept it, and let him off the hook. But tonight, I saw right through it. The gesture felt empty, like a performance I had seen too many times. For the first time, I wondered if he had ever really seen me, or if I had always just been a convenience. I turned the diamond necklace over in my hand and saw a small tag with 3 words on it. Not for sale. Suddenly, I remembered a post Chloe had shared on social media that morning. In the photo, she was wearing a deep blue gown, the same custom design from an exclusive collection. Her caption read, "Thank you to my darling for this special gift. Only mutual love is blessed. Those who are unloved are simply unnecessary." I looked at the necklace in my hand and laughed bitterly. Right in front of Mark, I threw it into the trash can. His face darkened. Don't be so ungrateful. I'm trying to make peace with you. What more do you want? If I'm not mistaken, I said quietly, this necklace came as a free gift with Chloe's dress. If someone else doesn't want it, I certainly don't. Mark's face twisted with anger. Sarah, you're always so jealous. Who do you think you are? I bring you a necklace, and you act like this. Fine. Keep it or don't. I don't care. You're not sleeping in the bedroom tonight. He slammed the door, leaving me alone in the living room. I sat on the sofa for hours, scrolling through Chloe's social media. My heart felt heavy. Looking back, all her romantic posts from the last 6 months suddenly made sense. We had been married for 4 years. While Mark was busy with work, I made our home perfect for him. I had designed the entire house myself, from the chandeliers to the armchairs, which I had flown to Italy to have custom-made just for him. He hated takeout, so I taught myself to cook, learning his favorite dishes from online videos. For our anniversaries, for Valentine's Day, for his birthday, I planned surprises and bought thoughtful gifts, but he always acted indifferent. I used to think he just wasn't a romantic person, but now I knew the truth. He just wanted to celebrate those moments with someone else. Each of Chloe's posts felt like a knife in my heart. The thought of divorce grew in my mind, unstoppable. I couldn't stand the idea of going back to the office. The next morning, I still made 2 breakfasts, just like always. Mark ate his without a word, then asked if I wanted to ride with him to work. It was a strange offer. He had never made it before. Earlier that year, on a rainy day, I had asked if I could get a ride with him because my rideshare app kept canceling. He had snapped at me, accusing me of trying to reveal our marriage and telling me to just stay home if I couldn't get a ride. I remembered Chloe pulling up in her car then, smiling as she picked him up. Now, as I opened the car door, Chloe turned around in surprise. "Manager Miller, you're riding with us today." She looked at me with a smug smirk. "I've been picking Mark up every day," she said lightly, "but this is the first time I've seen you join us." Then, turning to Mark, she pouted. "Mark, I drank so much at last night's investor dinner. My head is still spinning. Since Manager Miller left early and must be feeling fine, maybe she can drive." She gave Mark a pitiful look. Mark frowned for a moment, then said, as if giving an order, "Sarah, you drive." I held back my anger. "No, I'll take a taxi like usual." I had no intention of being Chloe's chauffeur. Mark turned to look at me. "Then what, you want me to drive?" I took a deep breath. "Fine, I'll drive." All the way to the office, Chloe sat in the back, chatting and laughing with Mark. At one point, she laughed so hard that her head rested lightly on his shoulder. I saw her glance at me in the rear-view mirror with a look of triumph. She leaned forward and asked sweetly, "Manager Miller, you don't mind me picking Mark up and dropping him off every day, do you?" Before I could answer, Mark cut in. "She doesn't care about things like that." My expression hardened. My voice was calm, but there was a chill in it. I met Chloe's eyes in the mirror and said, "It's perfectly normal for an assistant to drive the CEO, nothing to be bothered about." Chloe heard the tone in my voice and her smile faltered. Mark, annoyed, snapped, "Just focus on driving, no need for commentary." When we got to the company's parking garage, Mark got out of the car and walked straight to the elevators. Chloe turned to me with a smirk and said quietly, "There's something in the glove compartment. I hope you still feel like smiling after you see it." She hurried after him. My hand hesitated for a moment before I opened the glove compartment. I already had a bad feeling about what I would find. Inside was a medical report. It was a prenatal blood test. Chloe was 4 months pregnant. The confirmed biological father was Mark. I had thought that finding something like this would make me lose control, that I would chase after them and scream, but instead, I just felt a sense of relief. The disappointments had come one after another, and I had grown numb. At that moment, I finally knew that our marriage was over. Letting go was the only thing to do. 4 months ago, Mark and Chloe had been on a month-long business trip, so that's when it happened. And yet, Mark had looked me in the eye and said the child wasn't his. This report destroyed any doubt I had left. I called my lawyer and asked them to start drafting the divorce agreement. It was rush hour, and after the party the night before, the office was buzzing with gossip. When Mark and Chloe walked in together, they got a lot of attention. Manager Miller used to be so close to President Thompson. They looked like a perfect match, but Chloe has only been here a few months and already won him over. Looks like Miller was just a desperate fan in the end. She got nothing. I stepped into the elevator in silence. When they saw me, the gossip stopped. I didn't blame them. They didn't know the truth. The only one I blamed was Mark for making me the fool in this whole situation. I glanced at the divorce papers my lawyer had sent over, read through them, and replied that everything looked good. Then I turned off my phone. In the tech department, I calmly handed off my work to my colleagues. At lunch, I planned to eat something simple in the cafeteria, but of course, Mark and Chloe were there too. Chloe saw me and deliberately brought Mark to sit at the table next to mine. "You need to eat more, Mark," she said sweetly. "You've been overworking yourself." She picked up a peeled shrimp and held it to his lips. Around us, co-workers watched with admiration. President Thompson and Director Davis really are the perfect couple. Mark blushed and smiled modestly. "Chloe knows I have stomach issues. She insists I eat properly. In the early days of the company, Mark drank a lot at business dinners and damaged his stomach. No matter how late he came home, I always had porridge and soup ready for him. As the company grew and my work brought in more partners, the pressure on Mark eased, and he didn't need to entertain clients as often. I didn't say anything. I just smiled, stood up with my tray, and started to leave. Chloe, annoyed by my lack of reaction, called out, "Manager Miller, are you not feeling well? You barely touched your lunch." Her voice drew everyone's attention. I paused and replied calmly, "You kill my appetite." Then I turned and walked away. Chloe's eyes filled with tears. She looked at Mark with a wounded expression. Mark's face turned cold. He stood up and yelled, "Stop right there!" His voice echoed through the cafeteria. "This is a workplace. I will not tolerate this kind of behavior. Apologize to Director Davis right now or get out. You're fired." I paused, glanced over my shoulder, and gave him a small smile. That works perfectly for me. I turned and walked away, leaving behind the sound of Mark shouting my name. I never looked back. During my lunch break, I went to the law firm and picked up the finalized divorce papers. In the afternoon, I submitted my resignation to Human Resources. With the documents in my hand, I went straight to Mark's office. Before I could reach the door, his new assistant stepped in front of me. "Manager Miller," she said quickly, "Mr. Thompson and Director Davis are in a meeting. You can't go in right now. If you have any documents that need his signature, I can take them for you." Something about her urgent tone made me uneasy. I ignored her and reached for the door. "I tried to stop her!" the assistant shouted, her voice rising in panic. My hand trembled as I turned the doorknob. The first time, my hand slipped. I was about to try again when the door opened from the inside. Chloe stood there, blocking my view. She looked annoyed. "Manager Miller," she said with a fake smile. "Did you come to apologize?" I stared at her messy collar and flushed cheeks. My chest tightened. Without a word, I pushed past her. And there was Mark, sitting behind his desk. He was always so meticulous about his appearance, always perfectly polished. But not today. The shirt he had ironed and buttoned so perfectly that morning was now on inside out. Knowing something is one thing, seeing it for yourself is another. I could picture how they had rushed to get dressed, fumbling and panicked. Rage surged through me. Mark, trying to save face, snapped at me. "Did you do this on purpose? You think you can just walk into the president's office anytime you like?" "You two make me sick," I said coldly. I slammed the resignation letter and the divorce papers down on his desk. "Mark, I want a divorce." He stared at me, stunned. "You want a divorce?" He looked like he couldn't believe what he was hearing, as if it had never occurred to him that I might be the one to end things. I stayed calm. "If you're unhappy with the division of assets, we can adjust it. The apartment stays with me. You can have my 5% stake in the company. I only want $2 million. Mark knew that my contributions to the company over the years were worth far more than that. I had paid for the apartment and decorated every inch of it. Even the new assistant, wide-eyed, could hardly believe what she was seeing. Her eyes darted between the three of us. Mark glared at her. "Get out!" She nodded and rushed out of the room. Mark immediately turned on me. "Sarah, what gives you the right to ask for a divorce? Just because I told you to apologize to Chloe this afternoon? You're using divorce to get your way now." "I must have been blind not to see how manipulative you are." Chloe chimed in, pretending to be kind. "Manager Miller, I let go of this afternoon's misunderstanding a long time ago. You shouldn't bring up something as serious as divorce over such a small matter. The company is finally starting to recover. If word gets out that you two are divorcing, the press will have a field day." I rolled my eyes and laughed. "You two really do make a good team. Why do you think I want a divorce? You really have no idea? One of you has their shirt on inside out, and the other hasn't even bothered to fix her collar. And another thing, am I supposed to raise someone else's child now?" I pulled the pregnancy report from the folder and slapped it on the desk. Mark's eyes flickered with panic. He glanced at the paper, then looked at me, furious. "Sarah, how can you ask for a divorce over something this minor? I made a mistake, yes, but a small one. Does it really have to end this way?" The nerve of him, calling cheating a small mistake, left me speechless. He leaned back in his chair and tried one last time. "If you take the divorce papers and walk out now, I'll pretend this never happened. But don't bring up divorce again. Let this be a warning. Now, apologize to Chloe, and let's move on." Chloe shrugged. "Let it go. Manager Miller has a lot of pride. I never expected an apology from her anyway." I looked at the two of them and laughed again. "An apology? You think I want to keep living like this? I'm not asking, I'm telling you. Sign the papers." Mark's face hardened. "Don't be ungrateful. Without me, you're nothing. And even if you come crawling back one day, I won't take you. Think carefully." I stayed calm. "Just sign. Whether you do it now or not, I'll take this through legal channels." His eyes showed turmoil, but he didn't move. I pointed to the signature line. "Sign it." With frustration boiling over, he slammed his hand on the desk. "You'll regret this." He snatched the pen and signed his name with so much force that it almost tore the paper. Ashley stood nearby with a triumphant smile. Some people are just short-sighted. Once you've angered Mark, getting back in his good graces won't be so easy. Mark straightened up, holding the divorce papers and resignation letter. He looked down at me. "Sarah, walk out of this building and I'll make sure you're blacklisted from this entire industry. No company will ever hire you. Beg me now and I'll tear this up." Chloe quickly added, "Exactly. Who would dare hire her after this? You'll be begging to come back soon." I stared at them in silence, then laughed. I reached out and took both documents. "We're done," I said, and walked out of the office. A few colleagues saw me leave. It didn't take long for word to spread. Rumors flew that I had resigned after a vicious argument or that I had been fired and blacklisted. By the end of the day, the news of our divorce was also making its way around the office. That evening, a tall, lean man appeared at the entrance of a restaurant. Daniel Carter walked in, dressed in a tailored suit. When I had just graduated, Daniel had offered me a job at his family's company. We had the same mentor in college, and he had noticed my name being praised often. But I had turned him down, determined to help Mark build his startup. I had naively believed that love was all we needed. Daniel stirred his coffee slowly. "So, Junior," he said with a smirk, "you turned me down once. What made you change your mind? That little company not living up to your potential?" He looked more mature now, his presence more composed. I sighed and gave him a bitter smile. "Looks like I'm getting frozen out of the whole industry. Honestly, I have nowhere else to go. I need a job. I'm hoping you might still have room for me." His lips curved into a soft smile. "No need to be so formal. Just call me senior like you used to. Judging by your face, things over there weren't exactly great." After 2 beers, the ache in my heart began to fade, and I told him the whole story. The more Daniel listened, the angrier he became. He cursed Mark without holding back. "What an idiot," he snapped. "You gave him years of loyalty, and this is what he does? He's going to regret this. Mark my words." He ranted for a while, and every word he said felt like it hit the right spot. I quietly wiped away a few tears. Finally, he nodded. "Get your personal matters sorted out. You start with us next Monday." By the time I got home, it was almost 11. The living room light was still on. Mark was sitting on the sofa, looking irritated. "Where were you?" he snapped. "I've been waiting for over 2 hours." He leaned back, arms crossed. "Go make me something to eat. I'm hungry." I stood there, stunned by his audacity. "If you're hungry," I said coolly, "make something yourself. Or order takeout." Mark's expression darkened. I said, "Go make it." His tone, his entitled posture, it all lit a fire in me. Memories of all the years I spent taking care of him rushed back. I looked straight at him, then walked past him without a word. As I stood up, his expression softened slightly. "Stir some shredded pork with green peppers," he said casually. "Add more chili, and slice up a pear." But the next moment he realized I wasn't going to the kitchen. I was walking toward the study. His face darkened instantly. "What do you mean by this?" My only answer was the sound of the door slamming shut. That night I slept better than I had in months. I've always been the type to hold on tight, but once I let go, I never look back. The next morning, as Mark called out from the dining room for his breakfast, I calmly placed the signed divorce papers in front of him. "You can skip work today. Let's go finalize it. And just so you know, the house is mine. Please make arrangements to move out soon." He looked stunned, his face darkening. "Sarah, what game are you playing now? You loved me like your life depended on it. I don't believe for a second that you can walk away this easily. If you really have the nerve, then let's go file right now." So we did. When we stepped out of the civil affairs office, Mark kept glancing at me, as if he wanted to say something but couldn't. He was restless the whole time, clearly agitated. What bothered him most was that I wasn't clinging to him like he expected. He was used to being adored, and he wasn't ready for me to let go so easily. Outside the office, we parted ways. Chloe was waiting in her car to pick him up. Mark lifted his chin, pulled her into a casual hug, and said with a hint of smugness, "Some people just aren't meant to be, Manager Miller. Or rather, former Manager Miller." Chloe added, "Please don't be too sad, okay?" I looked at her for a few seconds and replied with a faint, cold smile, "There's nothing to be sad about." That one sentence made Mark's brow twitch. Without another word, He let go of Chloe's hand and got into the car alone. A few days later, Mark hired a moving company to pack his things. As he sat on the couch watching them, he glanced at me. "Do you really feel nothing kicking me out like this?" It was rare for him to sound so subdued. When I didn't respond, he tried another tactic, his tone patient, almost pleading. "Look, what's done is done. We may be divorced, but we were still husband and wife once. Can't we at least stay civil? Ever since you left, the tech department's been a disaster. A few of our top investors are threatening to pull out. Only you can stabilize things." I raised an eyebrow. "So you cheat, divorce me, and now you expect me to clean up your mess?" Mark frowned. "Clean up the mess? Didn't we build this company together? Don't you care at all? Didn't we share the profits? What's wrong with keeping work and personal matters separate?" He had been a boss for too long, always trying to turn emotions into business arguments. "I'm sorry," I said calmly. "I've already accepted a new job. I won't be getting involved with the old company again." Mark scoffed. "Cut the act, Sarah. I already spread the word. No company will hire you. You come back now, and your position and salary will be exactly as before. But keep dragging this out, and it'll stop being funny." I poured myself a glass of water. Mark reached for it, but I calmly raised it to my lips. He pulled his hand back and glared at me. "Mark," I said, my voice steady, "you're only asking me back because I'm useful. The tech department is failing, and you need someone to fix it. But I'm not that woman anymore. When I see you now, I feel sick. The company is yours now. I won't be returning. And by the way, I changed the lock code." "Once your things are gone, don't come back." His face turned dark with fury. A month passed. Word of our divorce spread. Investors backed out, and technical issues piled up. Mark's company, which had just gone public, saw its stock price plummet. The industry's opinion of him soured. Despite his attempts to control the rumors, the business continued to spiral downward. Meanwhile, I had joined Daniel Carter's firm. In just a few weeks, I had earned the respect of my new colleagues. Daniel, recognizing my skills, invited me to attend an investment seminar with him. Grateful for his trust, I accepted immediately without even looking at the invitation. That evening, I found myself in the same grand hall, surrounded by familiar faces. I froze for a second. If I had known the seminar was hosted by my former company, I would have declined. I turned to leave, but a few old coworkers spotted me and surrounded me with questions. "Whoa, Manager Miller, we heard you and Mr. Thompson got divorced. Is it true the child is actually Director Davis's? Come on, tell us what's real." A few steps away, Mark, standing in the middle of a crowd, saw me and called out, "Sarah? You're not even with the company anymore. What are you doing here?" He then turned to the others. "And the rest of you, stop gawking. Tonight's event is about securing investment from the Carter Group. Get to work." The crowd scattered, though they kept glancing at me. Mark walked over, a smug smile on his face. "I knew it, Sarah. You can't stay away from me. Just a few days and you already regret it. If you want my forgiveness, you'll need to show some sincerity. Go on, beg a little." Beside him, Chloe's eyes were red. She stepped forward. "Sarah," she said sharply, "you're a woman too. Can't you have some dignity? What are you doing, still clinging to Mark?" Then she raised her voice for everyone to hear. "Don't give us that talk about love. What you really care about is the divorce settlement. You just came here to stir up trouble." Mark frowned at her words, but then seemed to consider them. He looked me up and down. "You're always like this, Sarah. No sense of propriety. Tonight is too important. We're meeting with the Carter Group's technical consultant. I don't want any disruptions. You need to leave now, or I'll have security escort you out." I looked at him calmly. "I am the technical consultant from the Carter Group." Mark laughed coldly. "You? You were blacklisted. What company would even hire you?" Chloe snorted beside him and gestured to some nearby employees. "Get her out of here." They started to move toward me, but just then the doors swung open, and Daniel Carter entered, flanked by his assistant and 2 security guards. The room fell silent. Mark's demeanor changed instantly. He rushed forward with a wide smile. "Mr. Carter, what an honor! We never expected you to come in person. Oh, and your technical consultant, has he arrived? We can have him start reviewing our work right away. I'm extremely confident in our technology." Daniel paused, then pointed in my direction. "She's right there." He looked at me and called out, "Consultant, what are you waiting for? Go take a look at their technical documentation." The room was stunned into silence, then chaos erupted. Old colleagues scrambled to pour me tea and offer me a seat. The new tech manager trembled as he handed me the file. "Sister Miller, please be kind." Mark's smile froze. This can't be." Chloe stepped forward in disbelief. "But the Carter Group does thorough background checks. How could she possibly have become a consultant so quickly?" Daniel smiled warmly and patted me on the shoulder. "Why not? Consultant Miller was my junior back in university. Our professor praised her often, said she was one of the brightest minds he had ever taught." He sighed. "It's just a shame," he continued, turning to the crowd, "that when she graduated, she gave up an offer from my company just to follow some man to an unknown startup. I invited her multiple times, but she never came." Then his voice turned sharp. "And that man, he turned around and had a child with someone else." The room was deathly silent. Everyone glanced at each other, not knowing where to look. Daniel turned to Chloe with a faint smile. "Tell me, do you think this man is both blind and shameless?" Chloe's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Mark's face turned pale with embarrassment. Seeing Chloe remain silent, Daniel's smile faded. "Is this how your company treats a potential investor from the Carter Group? With silence and disrespect?" Mark quickly understood the danger. He pressed Chloe's head down in a forced bow. "She's new to the role," he explained with a strained smile. "Director Davis isn't used to high-level meetings. Please accept our apology." Chloe bent over with an awkward smile, pouring a fresh cup of tea for Daniel. I let out a small cough. Daniel glanced at me, caught my expression, and lowered his hand before taking the cup. "What is it?" he asked. I set down my own teacup and smiled coldly. "This gentleman here is my ex-husband. And as for Director Davis," I said, glancing at her, "I believe you can guess her role. Just before you arrived, I told her I was the consultant for the Carter Group. She tried to throw me out." Daniel's eyes narrowed. A splash of hot tea spilled from the cup directly onto Chloe's expensive dress. "You?" Chloe yelped. Mark turned sharply and snapped, "Watch your mouth when speaking to Mr. Carter." Then, without hesitation, he slapped her across the face. Chloe stood there, stunned, then burst into tears and ran out of the room. Mark didn't even look at her. He turned to Daniel with a wide, forced smile and poured a fresh cup of tea. "Mr. Carter, please don't take that personally. It was just a misunderstanding." Daniel waved a hand dismissively. "You tried to throw out Consultant Miller. An apology is due to her." Mark froze, his smile stiff. He forced himself to turn and hold the teacup out to me. I continued reading the report, not even looking at him. He glanced at Daniel, then gritted his teeth and raised the cup higher. Time passed in silence. His fingers began to tremble. Only then did I slowly reach out and take it. He looked surprised, as if he expected me to reject it. For a moment, his eyes flickered with something like regret. But I wasn't there for petty revenge. I looked at him coldly, then turned to the report. "Here and here," I said, pointing to several pages. "The testing results appear to be fabricated. The data is incomplete." I then launched into a detailed critique, pointing out every flaw in their work. I spoke with clarity and precision. "In summary, Mr. Carter," I concluded, "I have no objections to investing in this company, but it needs a clean slate." Mark stood frozen, speechless. He knew the partnership was over. What came next was calculated. I shared the Carter Group's evaluation of Mark's company with key industry contacts. Then, I publicly released our divorce documents, which directly contradicted Mark's recent announcement about being newly engaged. The narrative flipped overnight. Partners withdrew their support, citing the scandal. Many demanded compensation. It didn't take long for Mark to declare bankruptcy, crushed by debt. I didn't forget Chloe. I exposed her academic fraud. She had claimed to be a graduate from a prestigious university, but I found out she was a dropout from a third-rate technical school and had been arrested multiple times for petty theft. Later, I invited Daniel to dinner to thank him. I knew that Mark's collapse was not just my doing. Daniel had worked behind the scenes to make sure the fall was swift. As I arrived at the restaurant, a familiar figure appeared. The moment he saw me, tears streamed down his face. He looked pale and tired. He rushed forward and pulled me into a hug. "Please," Mark sobbed. "I'm so sorry. I was wrong. Chloe fooled me. But you never lied to me. You're the only one I can trust." I kept my face cold and pushed him away. "You disgust me," I said quietly. "Have some dignity. We're divorced." He stared at me, desperate. I got rid of the baby, he said. Chloe betrayed me. I had her arrested. She's in prison now. Can you come back to me? I took a firm step back. No. His shoulders trembled. I swear I know how wrong I was, he pleaded. I'll never betray you again. If you come back, we can announce our relationship publicly. We can have children, a fresh start. Anything you want, just forgive me. Not every mistake can be erased with a simple, I was wrong, I said calmly. Are you finished? I have a dinner appointment. Goodbye. Mark's eyes widened as he watched me walk past him. Just ahead, Daniel stood in a tailored suit, waving at me with a smile. I walked up to him and slipped my arm through his. He gave me a playful wink. At the sight of us, Mark's eyes filled with disbelief. You two? How is that possible? I thought I was the one you loved most. My expression didn't change. Anyone could be my boyfriend. Anyone could be the man I spend my life with. Anyone except you. With that, I turned and walked away with Daniel, leaving Mark standing there, full of tears and regret. Once we were inside the restaurant, I let go of Daniel's arm, but he quickly took my hand again. I thought I was your boyfriend, he teased. I blinked, caught off guard. He leaned in close and whispered, Can I tell you a secret? I've had feelings for you for a long time. Back in school, I hinted at it more than once, hoping you'd notice, but you never did. Someone else took you away, and I regretted it every day. He straightened up and looked at me sincerely. So now, I'm taking the initiative. I just have to ask, would you give me a chance? I stared into his deep, steady eyes, and somehow, before I could stop myself, I nodded. In the years that followed, Mark's second business failed. The debts piled up until he couldn't take it anymore. In the end, he chose to end his life on a rooftop. When I heard the news, I sat quietly for a moment, lost in thought. Then I turned to Daniel, who was stretched out on the sofa. What should we have for lunch? I asked. Lunch can wait, Daniel said, flipping through a notebook. Help me pick one of these names. Which one do you like better? Whatever you say, honey, I smiled, sitting beside him. Together, we debated names for our baby, who would be arriving soon.